right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's SkySlope training for admin. I just want to remind you all that today's training will be recorded, and for the best listening quality during our video, you all are placed on mute. So please feel free to enter your questions into the questions window throughout the training. If we don't get to all of those during our time today, we will be sure to send out an emailed response. All right, so before we dive straight into the platform, I do just have a few introductory slides introducing myself and giving you a little background on SkySlope and some of the resources you have available to you. So I'd like to formally introduce myself and give a face to the voice. My name is Stephanie Stavrianidakis, and I am a Customer Success Manager here at SkySlope. So here's just a little info about me, just some fun facts so you know who's talking on this end. And as much as we are a resource for your guys' teams and getting them launched and everyone onboarded, one of your greatest resources will be our support team. So our support team is a great example of how SkySlope really values and goes above and beyond for our users. Our support team is truly the best, and they're all available in-house, so we don't outsource our support. And they're available 24/7, so that's every holiday, every weekend, truly 365 days to answer any and all of your questions. So we're so confident in our support team, we guarantee they'll answer your call by the second ring, respond to your chat within 10 seconds, and email you back within 20 minutes. Otherwise, we will send you a Starbucks gift card. So simple as that. If we don't meet our guarantee, coffee is on us. And so we understand during this process, transitioning the team to new technology, that it can be a little daunting, and we understand your agents are not working a standard 9 to 5, which is why we've always offered 24/7 support. And with that, I always like to note, none of our competitors are offering this level of accessibility or commitment to your success. So really take advantage of this great tool. Once we do hop into the platform, I will be showing you how to communicate or how to connect with our support team once we get to that point. So the reason we have such a strong in-house support system is greatly due to the current realty process shown here and where we came from as a company. So just to give you a little background, Tyler Smith, our CEO, was a 30 under 30 top producing agent here in Sacramento. He was closing over 300 deals a year and moving quicker than any realty platform available, which thus prompted him to create his own. So we really pride ourselves on SkySlope being created by an agent for agents. And that's why Tyler knew offering a paperless platform partnered with 24/7 support would be crucial for agents and brokers to be successful. So taking a look here, just very briefly at the current realty process, you'll see some familiar items, but overall pretty disorganized with no clear structure. So what SkySlope does is streamline everything within the realty process. We aren't changing the process itself, just allowing all of your tools to be brought together on one platform, easily accessible from any device, whether that be mobile or PC. So nice and easy to use, making you more efficient, more compliant, which is great, and most importantly, allowing agents and admin to do what they do best. And for agents, that is closing deals. So within your agents training, we do focus on 3 simple steps, the essentials or basics of an agent's job. So what we need them to be able to do in SkySlope is search and verify property data, confirm contacts, and turn in documents. So after the agents have completed these 3 steps, that leads us right into your role as part of the admin team. And so we've simplified the admin's workflow and the platform to 3 simple steps as well. It is a different workflow. So we'll be focusing on step 1 being approving documents, step 2, closing files, and step 3, archiving. So I will be going over not only your agent's workflow, but also these 3 steps here, and then I'll be covering the other features available within your admin access to the SkySlope platform. So let's go ahead and jump right into SkySlope. So this is SkySlope. This is my demo account, so yours will look a little different. For starters, right over here in the top left-hand corner where it says SkySlope, you'll have your own logo or name of the brokerage there. And then throughout the platform, you will have a customized color scheme to match. So this is all going to be branded to you as soon as you log in. Clicking on your logo in the top left-hand corner will always bring you back to this home screen. It'll bring you back to your main dashboard items right here. And another very important icon located right here on the home screen is going to be this little guy with the headset. So this is how you'll be able to reach our amazing support team. So I definitely want to show you what that resource looks like. So clicking on the little icon here, it'll take you into the support center. So here, by selecting this big blue button, you'll be able to start that chat, send out an email, or give our tech experts a call. And again, quickest response times will be utilizing the chat. That's a 10-second turnaround, otherwise coffee on us. So if you didn't have a specific question for our support team, you can always jump right down here into SkySlope tutorials. So I'll show you what that looks like as well. So here within tutorials, there are tons of tools or videos that are great tools to familiarize with SkySlope in smaller doses rather than having to sit through a 30 to 40-minute training with me. You could jump right in here or advise your agents to jump in here, either utilize this search bar for something specific or browse the numerous articles available here. Get a refresher on how to create a listing, how to create a transaction, whatever it is that you or the team are looking for. There's either a video or an animated step-by-step process available right here in the tutorial section. And again, if you're still having trouble, our support team's available to you 24/7, so you could still reach out to them and they'll address your questions. So let's go ahead and go back to our home screen. So before we start diving into what your agent's workflow looks like, those 3 steps, I did just want to quickly cover what these numbers are here at the top. So obviously when you first log into your account, there'll be a bunch of zeros there because there's no account activity. But once you start entering in listings, once your agents start entering in their files, this is your stat bar, and it's going to give you that content overview of what's current within the account. So you don't have to pull a report, you don't have to dig too far to find exactly how many scheduled closings you have for the month, how many active listings, or how many pending files or transactions that you have. It'll pull that information and display it as soon as you log in. So that's always a great tool as well. Again, you don't have to pull reports for that information. So to start, we will be walking through your agent's workflow, how they're entering in their files. We're covering those 3 steps, which again are searching and verifying their property data, confirming their contact info, and turning in their documents. So to start, we will be going into an active listing. So we can find those right here in Manage Listings on the dashboard, or right here from within the stat bar under Active Listings. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. We're going to go into an already created file. So jumping right into one of my files here. Again, this is on my listing side. The very first tab we see here is the Listings tab. So of course we see our property information, we have our address, we know exactly which agent created this file or is associated with this file. You do have, or your agents have, the ability to add any co-listing agents here. And you can add up to 5 co-listing agents. They'll be able to have access to this file, make any edits or additions, adding documents. All of that information will actually be stored within this file as well, and I'll show you where that's located. But we have our listing price here. And then right here where it says type, this is your property type. So whatever your agents are choosing here within type will correlate over to the checklist. So it'll correlate over to that list of required documentation. So that's something they're selecting from within a drop-down. They're selecting which property type they're entering in and what required documentation is associated with that property type. So moving into our next tab, our Contacts tab. This is where your agents are pulling in their contact information for their seller. So you can see here within our demo account, we have a lot of celebrity names. So we have Matthew McConaughey here. Within this tab, you can add any additional information as well. So if you wanted to include a phone number, an alternative phone number, or any specific notes pertaining to this seller, you or your agents can make those edits by selecting the Edit button. These fields will then become available to utilize, and you can enter in those notes and save. So that was step 2 for your agents, entering in that contact information. So moving on to step 3, right here, our next tab is the Checklist tab. So again, when your agents are entering in their listing information, they're selecting which property type they're entering in, and that correlates over to our checklist right here, so that list of required documentation. So you can see that documentation available here. We have our listing agreement, our agency agreement. So these first 4 here are labeled required. And then we have these other listed items that are labeled as if applicable. So within the agent training, we do stress for your agents to review those if applicables because they don't necessarily apply to every single property, but if they do, they are listed here to be utilized. So if it does apply to the property, they can then consider this if applicable line a required item as well. So they will be needing to attach documentation to that section. An example that we like to use is the lead-based paint disclosure. That doesn't apply to every single property, but I believe it's before 1970 or so. That does apply to those properties. So that is listed here for them to utilize. So you can easily see which ones are required again. Anything that has been attached within your login access, you'll be able to see right here that it's now pending review. So that's letting you know as part of the admin team that there is a document attached here ready for you to review. And so your agents have a few ways to bring in those files into their SkySlope account here. They can either attach directly from their desktop, or they can utilize this unique email address here. SkySlope will generate this email address for them automatically when they are creating this file. So if you guys can actually see right over here, the address is 123 Main Avenue. We see that information here, 123 Main Avenue, and we do have the addition of these numbers here. So this email will always be unique to each time you've created a listing file for a property or for a transaction file as well. You'll have your own unique email. So these additional numbers here at the end just represent how many times this specific address has been used in SkySlope. So it, again, will always be generated automatically and be unique to however many times you utilize this address here. So it's been utilized 22 times before. Again, this is our demo account. But again, that email will always be unique. Your agents can forward in any information their clients have emailed over to them. So if that's the entire listing packet, your agent can then forward in that listing packet and any communication in that email with their client, forward that into this unique email address here. And within our next two tabs, the attachments will become available in the Documents tab. And then that communication piece with the client will easily be brought in and stored and documented right here within the log. So really great features there. Very easy to bring those files in and start attaching them to where they belong. So after your agents have attached those documents to their checklist items here, that completes their third step. Their files are now ready for the admin team to review. But before we leave out of this file, I do just want to cover our following tabs here. So our Documents tab, jumping right in, we did talk about when your agent forwards in that information or uploads directly from the desktop, that information will be displayed here in the Documents tab. They can then attach from the checklist from this section, and they also have this tool here, this split tool. So if they bring in a full listing packet and they don't want to attach the entire packet to each section on the checklist, they don't have to print that out and separate them individually and scan them in. They can just utilize this split tool and digitally separate and pull just the pages that they want from that document. So that is a great tool. It saves a lot of time. And again, we are a paperless platform. So we want you to be able to do all of those features right here digitally within the platform. So they can utilize that split tool from this section here. So moving on into our Log tab. So we talked about utilizing this unique email to bring in the communication piece as well as those attachments with your client. That communication piece will be stored right here within the log. So anything you did forward in will be available right here, stored very easily. That tedious work now becomes very simple and effortless. Anything else documented here within the log is essentially every step taken within SkySlope for this specific property file. So from the moment the file was created to adding contacts, to bringing in documents, to attaching those documents, all of that information will be stored right here within the log. So essentially this is your digital footprint for this file. And what's great within this section here, if you did have any co-listing agents or you have transaction coordinators that are working on files as well, here within the Who column, you can see exactly who has made those edits, who's added those documents, who's deleted those documents. You can see all of that information here and who's taken that action within the file. So our last tab here in our listing file is the Tasks tab. So jumping in here, you'll have this available, or your agents will have this available on all of their files, whether a listing or a transaction. You can create a digital to-do list. As part of the admin team, if you did have a specific structure that you're wanting your agents to complete for each of their property files or for specific property files, you can create a template or jump right in here and create your own digital to-do list for them to complete. And as your agent completes those, they'll just simply check them off as they are completed. You can associate a date with them. You can associate it to be created as a new task after the completion of the previous task. So you guys can utilize this section however you'd like. It is optional. If you'd prefer not to use it, you don't have to, but it is available within all of the files. So that's everything within our listing file. We're going to go ahead and go back to our home screen. So again, we were talking about your agent's workflow. They've just created that file for you. I do want to quickly show you what the sales side or the transaction side of the platform looks like as well, just so you can see the formatting of both a listing and a sale or transaction. So we were just in our managed listings. We were looking at those active listings there. Now I want to show you a pending file or a transaction file. So from here in managed transactions, we're going to go into one of our pending files here. And here we see a very similar layout to our listing side. Of course, this now says transactions since we are on the transaction side of the platform, but essentially here we have all of our property specific details. We know exactly which agent is associated with this transaction file. We see all of our important dates on here as well, our sale price, all of that good information displayed right here within the first tab, as well as this checklist type. So within our listing file, we had a property type that we're selecting or that your agents are selecting, which associates to the checklist and that list of required documentation. So once you do transition over to the transaction side, now that you have that interested buyer or you're representing your buyer, you will have a different set of required documentation. And that's located right here by the checklist type. So just very quickly going into the checklist. Here again, you'll see that new set of required documentation now that you are either representing the buyer or now that you have an interested buyer for your seller. You see all of that listed required documentation. You still have those if applicables available here to utilize as well, where again, if they do apply, they're considered required items as well. And then had this been converted from a listing, that listing documentation carries over as well. So that will be available here within the checklist. Anything that's previously been attached or even reviewed, you'll be able to see that very easily right here. So all of that information gets brought over. You don't lose it within the transition from the listing to the transaction side of the platform. Anything within that documents tab for that listing file will carry over as well as anything previously recorded within the log. All of that information carries over when you convert that listing to a sale. So that's everything here on the transaction side, just so we can see the formatting of both. So now we're ready to jump into your first step as part of the admin team. So that first step was reviewing documentation. So to start that process, right here on our dashboard, we're going to start in documents to review. As we continue within our training, we will be going in this direction all the way around till we come full circle on our dashboard items. So to start our review process, we're going into documents to review. Here we will see a list of our transactions first, and then our listings. And SkySlope will already comb through all of your active files. So it's going to comb through all of your active transactions, all of your active listings, and only display those files that have documents pending your review. So you're not going to have to pick apart which ones. You're not going to have to filter through all of those. There we go. You're not going to have to filter through all of those. You'll have those already organized right here for you within documents to review. So you can easily select any of these, whether it be a transaction file. It'll take you straight to the checklist where you can start accepting or rejecting. Same with your listing files down here. If you were to select any of those files, it'll take you straight to the checklist. You can start accepting or rejecting. But the greatest tool, greatest resource here for the review process will be utilizing Quick Audit. So Quick Audit will make that review process so much easier. You don't have to individually select through these files. Going right into Quick Audit, it'll condense all of that information and bring it right here into our 3-panel screen. So right now we're in Quick Audit, great resource for the admin team members that do the review process. So I will be explaining what information is displayed. I know right now it can look a little overwhelming. So right now we are looking at this specific property file. You can always utilize this drop down, select any other property files listed here. Again, it's only going to display those transaction or listing files that have documents pending your review. Or you can toggle on these settings here slightly to the right. If you only wanted to look at transactions, you can filter by that. Or if you only wanted to look at listings, you can filter through listings as well. And again, here within our listings, our toggled setting to only look at listings, you're only going to have listings available within the drop-down. So for this specific property type or this property address, the left-hand side will be the checklist for this property file. So here you can see the entire checklist, all of these if applicables. If anything else were listed here as required, then you know that your agent hasn't attached to that specific item. But right here, we can easily see these are pending our review, these 3 sections here. Your agents do have the ability to attach several documents to one checklist item. So here within our listing agreement, we have 3 different options. We have probably used this before in the past. Again, demo account. So we've attached our listing agreement, whether it had been broken apart 3 different times and we attached those 3 different files, or if we were just practicing on our end how to attach those. You'll see that available here. So anything you do select from the checklist will display right here in this center panel. So if we were to select our agency agreement from the checklist, that will then become displayed right here in the center panel. You can scroll through. If you need to zoom in or out, you can definitely do so from this screen as well. And so this is where you're checking for compliance, making sure everything's correct. That way you have that previewed right here within the largest center panel on this screen. And then any other property specific details will be displayed right here on the right-hand side. So you know exactly which agent is associated with this property file, you know exactly which checklist type has been selected, and any other specific property or contract details will be available here. So when you are ready to start the review process, right down here, you're either accepting the document, so it's complete, it's all compliant, or you're rejecting the document, whether it be the wrong document itself that's attached, or whether it be incomplete or it doesn't have all of the signatures or initials in the correct places. You have the ability to start the review process by selecting either of these 2 options. So as you're scrolling through, everything looks good. You're going to go ahead and accept this document. It'll take you to the next item on the checklist. Here we have our seller advisory. If it wasn't our seller advisory, it was the wrong document attached, right down here, you can simply select the reject button. SkySlope will then prompt you to leave a comment. So right here, you can be as specific as needed. This comment that you leave will be sent over to your agent when you are ready to send the entire review over to them. So again, you can be as specific as needed. They're not just going to be getting a file labeled incomplete or a document labeled incomplete. They'll be able to read any feedback that you include within this comment section so that they know exactly what they need to do to receive that approval. So you can let them know, wrong document. You'll save that comment. Right over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that status change to incomplete. So you know exactly which ones you've reviewed. You can go back. You can also change anything you've previously reviewed as well. So before you send this out officially to your agent, you do have the opportunity to make any adjustments. So if you didn't mean to mark this complete, you can write down here, unaccept that. It'll change the status back to pending, where then it allows you to then accept or reject after that point. So when you have reviewed the entire property file and you're ready to update your agent, to send over the review to your agent, you're just going to, right over here in the top right-hand corner, select Update Agent. They're going to receive an email notification, and I do have that available to show you guys what they receive on their end. So they'll receive an email notification that looks just like this. So here within the subject line, they'll be able to see the exact property address, so they know exactly which property's been reviewed. And then within the email itself, they'll be able to see the full checklist. So not just what they've attached and what you've reviewed, but they can see those list of if applicables, if they had anything else shown as required that they still hadn't attached documentation to. That will be available here for them to see as well. So very easily at the top here, color coded. They'll know exactly which documents have received approval. They'll show completed. And then anything that's been marked incomplete, right here within the comments column, they'll be able to see that feedback that you left them. So again, you can be as specific as needed. This lets them know exactly what they need to do on their end to receive that approval. So they can read right here for this document. They're missing an initial on page 2. If you guys have DigiSign enabled within your accounts, this link will also be available for your agent, and it'll be linked to this incomplete file. So what that allows them to do is jump right into DigiSign for this document, add that initial on page 2, and send out to their client. So it's just eliminating a lot of the extra steps. They don't have to log back into SkySlope, get into their listing files, jump into the documents, and then jump in here to go through DigiSign. That link being provided here allows them to just eliminate all of those additional steps and make this review so much quicker to make those adjustments. So that's always a great feature. Again, you have your comments, feedback. that goes through the review, and then they have this DigiSign link available. Again, just making the review process so much easier and quicker. So now we're ready to go back into SkySlope. So that was everything within our review process here. We're going to go back to our home page. So we've just completed step 1. That's reviewing our documents. So now we're ready to jump into step 2, which is closing the files. So again, we're moving in this direction through our dashboard items until we come full circle. So going into our managed transactions, we're going to complete step 2, which is closing our files. So jumping right in, we're going to jump into one of our active or pending files here. And to close a file, we will be right here within our first tab, we'll be selecting this Escrow Now Closed button. So selecting Escrow Now Closed will give us this pop-up window where we're entering in our closing date. And then from here, we can actually complete step 3 as well. We can also archive this file. So if we as part of the admin team, have reviewed the documents, your agent's been on top of them, and they're 100% complete, you can toggle on this setting right down here. You'll be closing and then archiving this file if it is ready for storage. If there are still a few missing documents or your agent still needs to make some revisions to their checklist, you can still close the file. We'll just not toggle on the archive file yet. You can still close the file. And so where that closed but not archived file will then be located, will be right here within our managed transactions here at the bottom. So here it says closed transactions to be archived. So all of these you can see have that closed status. But right over here where it says incomplete items, we have this number here either representing documents still needing to be attached to the checklist or documents that are needing to be revised by your agent. So once your agent has attached those documents, you've gone in and reviewed them and this number goes down to 0. Then right over here to the right, you have this icon available when you are ready to archive that transaction. So once you've archived that transaction, it'll be removed from this list and be housed in the Access Archives. That's another section on our dashboard. So everything will be separated by their status. So again, these will be available here. They're still open and active files until you archive them. Then they'll be available in Access Archives. So I have been asked, what if I accidentally archived something? It wasn't quite ready. Can I bring it back to this list? Once we get to Access Archives, I'll definitely be able to show you how easy it is to reactivate a file if it wasn't ready yet and you want to bring it back to this list here. There's a button associated with every file that has been archived that you can easily reactivate it and bring it back to this list here. It's a very easy process. So we've just completed step 2 and 3. We've closed our files. We've learned how to archive them. So I do want to continue showing you guys all the other features available within your admin access to SkySlope, kind of show you some more tips and tricks. So before we leave this screen, I do want to show you what you have available here on the transaction side of the platform. So here we have all of our active or pending transaction files. If any of these sales happen to fall through, you do have the option or the opportunity to select this icon here to cancel the transaction. Both you and your agents will have this ability. You'll select this icon here, or they'll select this icon. This file will then be submitted to this middle section here, canceled transactions pending approval. So it'll then be part of this list here, whereas a part of the admin team, you guys will be able to go in, review the documentation, and approve the cancellation. So your agents can only submit to this list, where then the admin team can go in, review that, and approve the cancellation. Once that cancellation has been approved, there's another section on our dashboard titled Canceled Contracts. Those canceled files will be stored in canceled contracts. Again, pending your approval, they'll be housed there, keeping everything separate by their status. So going back to our home screen, we're moving into our listings. Here within our listings, we have that same option as well for any of our files. If our seller backs out, they no longer want to list their home, you can select this icon here. You'll withdraw the listing. Again, both you and your agents have the ability to select this icon. This file will be removed from this list and be brought down here into canceled listings pending approval. Or again, as part of the admin team, you guys will have the ability to review that file, review that documentation, and then approve the cancellation. So once you have approved the cancellation, that will be housed in canceled contracts as well. So here on the listing side, you do have another option. So this other icon we have available here allows you to accept the contract. it allows you to convert this listing over to a sale. So you're converting the listing, transitioning it over to our transaction side of the platform, our sales side of the platform. So again, anything attached to the checklist, anything recorded in the log, or anything available in the documents tab, all of that information in our listing file converts over to our transaction file. So all of that information gets carried over. We don't lose it in the transition over. So going back to our home screen. So we've covered being able to cancel a transaction or withdraw a listing. When those have been approved by you, by the admin team, those will be housed in our next dashboard item here. They'll be housed in canceled contracts. So moving on, DigiSign. DigiSign is our e-signature tool. It is fully integrated within the platform. I won't be jumping in. It does function very easily as any other e-signature tool. If you did want to see any specific tutorials on how DigiSign works or how easily it functions, how you can create templates, I do recommend visiting our support center, going into the tutorial section, and having those videos available. If you want to share those with the team, you definitely have that available in our support. Moving on, we will be jumping into our working documents here. So jumping right in, the very first tab that we see here is the Office inbox. So the Office inbox is a centralized inbox for the admin team. And it is also an inbox that you can either choose to have activated or not. Some accounts like to have an inbox available in SkySlope so that they're not having to either flood their own email accounts, and it's bringing documentation and right here within the SkySlope platform readily available to use. So again, the Office inbox can be either turned on or off within your own accounts. It is up to you, however you'd like to utilize this section. I know some accounts like to utilize it for rejected offers, being able to store that within the SkySlope platform and having everything available on one platform. If you did choose to have the Office inbox on, the extension of that would be our rejected offers right here. So any of these documents pertaining to rejected offers, you can simply select and move them over and house them in rejected offers right here. So again, that is all optional, however you'd like to utilize this section or not. Moving on to our next tab, our Personal Docs tab. So within your own SkySlope accounts, you will have your own Personal Docs section that's only viewable and accessible to you. So you could think of this as your personal private SkySlope Dropbox. You can create folders here on the left-hand side. You can even create subfolders. So however you'd like to organize this section, there is unlimited storage here throughout the working docs. So you don't have to worry about reaching a certain limit, whether it be documents pertaining to either stray disclosures or buyer agency paperwork, or even property photos. If this is something, if you have rentals or if you know you're going to be listing a property several times, you can just have those property photos available right here. And whenever you do need to utilize them, you'll simply select those documents or those photos of interest. You do have some options here. Send out via DigiSign if you need any of those signed, or you can assign them to a specific property file once you have that file created. So you do have some options here within your personal docs, and again, only viewable and accessible to you. In our next tab, we have the Office Docs. So here within Office Docs will be any forms or documents that you choose to upload here. So the admin team has the ability to upload documents here that are then available to the entire brokerage. So it'll be available to all agents. So whether it be documents that you normally have available in the office, you want to be able to have them in one place, you want to go paperless, you can include those documents here. Again, it's going to be available brokerage-wide, so your agents can utilize this as like an internal library. They'd be able to select those documents, or you yourself would be able to utilize these documents as well, selecting those of interest that you'd like to use. Either send them out via DigiSign for e-signature, or you can assign them to your specific property. So you do have some options here within the Office Docs. Again, as part of the admin team, you can upload to this section and it becomes available to everyone in the brokerage. So we did talk about rejected offers, our next tab here. It is an extension of the Office inbox. So if you did want to store those rejected offers in one place here in SkySlope, you can definitely have this activated within your account. So moving into our last tab here, our zip forms. So for my zip forms users, when you first log into SkySlope, you will be prompted to enter in your zip forms credentials. So once you've entered in those credentials, you've saved them in SkySlope, you no longer have to continue providing those credentials. After that point, when you log into SkySlope, you'll automatically be logged into your ZipForms account. And what's great is anything you've previously worked on in your ZipForms account, anything you've sent out for signature and received back completed, that information carries over as soon as you save your credentials. That information will be available right here on the left-hand side. So you'll see all of those previously created transactions, any of the forms attached to any of those will be available for display right here in the center. If you wanted to create a new transaction, you can do so from the SkySlope platform as well. So you don't have to go between the two platforms anymore. You can create right here. If you wanted to add forms to either a new transaction or any existing, you can do so from here as well. You'll just select this Add Form button. It'll show you the ZipForms library that you're subscribed to. So you'd be able to select any of these forms here, add them to an existing transaction or add them to a new transaction. You also have the ability to select any of these forms. You're still in SkySlope, which is great. You'll have this pop-up window allowing you to fill out these forms as well. So when you save that information, it'll save on both platforms. It'll save right here in SkySlope and also in your ZipForms account. So it does carry over to both. And then you do have the ability to select any of these forms. Either send out via DigiSign from here in SkySlope, or you can assign them to your specific property when you are ready to assign those to that file created here in SkySlope. So you do have all of those options available here within your ZipForms integration. And again, that is available, ZipForms integration is available right here within your working docs. So moving into our next dashboard item, tasks and reminders. I won't be jumping in, but we did see a look we did see this within our listing and our transaction files, that last tab titled Tasks. You or the agents can create your own digital to-do list, however you'd like to utilize that section. It is completely optional. But anything you do decide to list for those files, whether it be you or the agents, you can sync any of that information, any of those tasks or reminders to your iCal, Outlook, or Google Calendar. So you can sync those tasks to your calendar. You don't have to be logged into SkySlope to know exactly what's needing to be done for the week or for a specific property file. You could sync that to your calendar and know exactly what's going on. It's just to help you, just another tool to help you stay productive and stay on track. So moving on into our Access Archives here. We've talked about our Access Archives before. Our third step as the admin team was closing and then archiving those files. So jumping in, this is where those archived files will be stored. So this is where your closed deals will be available. So you could think of this as your digital filing cabinet, easily accessible, again with unlimited storage, so you don't have to worry about reaching a certain limit. As you and the team continue to be successful, this list will just continue to grow as well. And then you do have the capability to download any files from this section as well. So for any of these files, you'll have this drop down available where you can download either all the documents or just the checklist documents. If your client is requesting their closing documents, you can throw that on a drive or throw that on a CD and send that out their way. So you do have some options here within the archives. And then we did talk about accidentally archiving something that wasn't quite ready. Right over here, very easily, you can reactivate that file. It'll then become available at the bottom of your transaction page, and that closed transaction's ready to be archived. So it'll be available right over there. It'll reactivate it. So then if your agent still needs to attach documents, if you still needed to review any of those documents, it'll reactivate the file for you. All right. So going back to our home screen, we have one last dashboard item. It is our incomplete checklist here. I won't be jumping in. It is pretty straightforward. Any listing or transaction file that has an incomplete checklist, so there are still those required checklist items that haven't had documents attached to them yet, so an incomplete checklist, that'll be housed right here. So just another section within SkySlope that combs through all of your active files and just houses those by their specific status. So that'll be housed right here, ready for you or your agents to then jump in and give those properties a little more work. So we've come full circle on our dashboard here. We've covered all of our dashboard items. I do have two other sections I want to show you, or two other features available within your admin access to SkySlope. So right over here in the top right, where it says Broker Bob, it'll be your name, of course, within your own account. So selecting your name, it'll give you this drop down. We're going to go into My Account here. And within My Account, we're going to go into Notifications, so our second tab here. So here with the notifications, as part of the admin team, you will have the ability to toggle on any of these settings, customize them however you'd like, to receive emails that are keeping you in line with your agent's workflow. So right here, we have our listings notifications, our transaction notifications. So this very first setting here, if you'd like to receive an email every time a new listing is created, you'll receive that email outside of SkySlope, letting you know which property and which agent has created that file, and you'll receive that email again outside of SkySlope. So again, it's just keeping you in line with your agent's workflow. If that's an indicator to you that you need to make sure the MLS, all that information is correctly created within this listing file or within the transaction file, you can definitely receive that notification, and it kind of lets you know what you need to do on your end if there is anything. You can also toggle on this setting here, whether it be this bottom line here, email me if the listing price changes. Again, if it's part of the admin team to make those representations in the MLS, then you can receive that email letting you know what the price has changed to, or if that's something you need to make sure your agents are representing in the MLS, you can do so. You do have these other settings you can toggle on, some related to tasks. If you'd like to receive an email of a daily summary of your own tasks or anything overdue, you can toggle on that setting. And again, you'll receive that email outside of SkySlope, just letting you know what your tasks are, what your to-do list is. And then right over here where it says company-wide notifications, company-wide notifications are specific to the broker only, so just the broker. All other admin or auditors will have these other settings available. Company-wide is broker only, and within these broker-only notifications, emails are sent out to the agents. So for example, if the broker would like to email the agents 10 days before a listing expires, if you guys require extension documentation to be submitted before making any changes in the MLS, that gives your agent 10 days before that listing expires to submit that extension documentation. So that's just an example. You guys can toggle on any of these settings however you'd like to be notified, or however you'd like to notify your agents. You guys have that ability within your own accounts. So that's notifications. I did have one other section that we're going to cover. So again, going back to our name here in the top right, we're going to go into admin. So the very first tab we see here is manage checklists. So as part of the customer success team, or as part of the account manager team, when we create your guys' accounts, we enter in the checklists for you. So this section will already be generated with your specific checklist, what those list of required documentations are depending on that property type. So all of that information will be created for you when you first log in. You do have the opportunity to make adjustments to any checklists, whether it be removing a checklist altogether. If you're no longer working with commercial leases, you'd be able to check this off and it will no longer show. We do have tutorials specific for managing the checklist, since this can be a little more complex feature within the account itself. So I definitely recommend watching a few tutorials or touching base with your own account manager to make sure before you make any adjustments that it'll be represented correctly within all of the accounts. Our next and last tab that we'll be covering is the Manage Agents tab. So here within Manage Agents, again, your customer success manager or your account manager will be entering in your full roster here. So you'll be able to see everyone listed. You can utilize a search bar if you're looking for someone specific. But if you did have anyone join the team, you yourself can actually create their agent access by selecting Create Agent here. You'll be entering in their first and last name, the email that they will be utilizing to access SkySlope, and then you'll be selecting their type or their access in the SkySlope platform, whether it be an agent, whether it be another member of the auditor admin team, or a limited transaction coordinator. You'll be selecting their type, which correlates over to what their access is within the SkySlope platform. So you can definitely add agents or any other members as the team grows. If you had anyone leave the brokerage, you do have the ability to deactivate their status from here and Manage Agents as well. So you'll simply find that agent, you'll select them from the roster, and right down here where it says Deactivate User, you'll just toggle that setting on and then you'll save. So by saving that status, you won't lose any work that they've worked on within the platform itself. You won't lose any of their files, any adjustments or documents that they've attached or sent out. They just lose access into the SkySlope platform itself. So very easy. You can easily jump right in here and deactivate any users for those that leave the brokerage. So that's everything within SkySlope. We've come full circle on our dashboard items. I've showed you those other options available within your admin access. So very quickly, I do just want to recap everything we've covered today. So our support, this will be your greatest resource for both you and the agents. Again, they're available 24/7, 365. Be sure to reach out to them directly if you have any questions, or you can browse the numerous tutorials available within the support center. Mobile, so you have the ability to access SkySlope on any device. You can definitely utilize the mobile browser. It'll function just as well as any desktop. So no matter where you are, both you and your agents can always stay informed and on track. Review. So with SkySlope being a paperless platform, we eliminate the wait time from getting paperwork completed, submitted, and reviewed, making the overall process much easier and much more efficient. For my ZipForms users, the very convenient one-time sign-in ZipForms integration allows you the ability to access, edit, create, and add files all within SkySlope, so you don't have to bounce back between the two platforms anymore. And then finally, DigiSign. I know we didn't go in depth with DigiSign, our amazing e-signature tool, but feel free to jump into our tutorial section in the support center just to see how it functions. It'll function just as easily and similarly as any e-signature tool, with the advantage of it being fully integrated in our SkySlope platform. So that completes our training for today. I don't see any questions coming through, or I didn't see any questions, but if I didn't get to any of those, or if I happen to skip over a few, no worries. We will be sending individual email responses to make sure those questions are answered. Well, great job, everyone. Thank you for joining me today, and happy SkySloping. Have a good one.